Now, when you think of the best teams in NFL history, most of the time it's because that team had an amazing defense or a historic offense, one or the other. But it's not often when you find a team that has both. Well, that's exactly what the 1989 San Francisco 49ers was. They averaged 27.6 points per game and allowed just 15.8. They outscored their playoff competition by a margin of 126 to 26. They were one of the most balanced teams in NFL history, as well as being one of the deepest. Their backup quarterback was a future Hall of Famer, just entering his prime. And now we have that team in today's NFL. Now, I know a lot of you guys play MUT, and sometimes you don't feel like grinding to get the best team. So if you want to just buy some training or coins or players, head on over to MUTreserve.com. Use my code CK, and not only will you be rich one day, but you'll also get 15% off your order. Welcome back, you guys. Your boy CK. If you're new around here, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're doing a series where we look back at the best teams in NFL history and put them in today's NFL to see how they fare against the other great teams currently in the league. Now, of course, we have Joe Montana, or Joe Cool, as many referred to him. He's one of the best when under pressure. In fact, he led the Niners to 31 comeback victories. One of the best quarterbacks to ever do it. And now we have him leading the way for the Niners. Steve Young had to be like the best backup of all time. We have him at an 89 overall. Then we have Steve Bono. So they had a couple all-time greats at quarterback. Running back wasn't too shabby either. Roger Craig was one of the first dual threat running backs in the NFL, as he was able to shred defenses both with his receiving and his rushing ability. So he's going to be leading the way at running back with Harry Sidney and Terrence Flagler behind him. But of course, you can't forget about Tom Rathman. Roger Craig would not have been where he was without a guy like this blocking for him. But not only was he an amazing blocker, he chipped in production as both a runner and a receiver. So that's already two amazing weapons for Montana to work with. And we haven't even gotten to the wide receivers yet. How about we start with John Taylor, who the Niners drafted in the 3rd round and is often called one of the biggest steals in NFL history. Despite often being overshadowed, he was an excellent complementary receiver to the GOAT. And even though he was the number 2 option, he would go on to set numerous records. I think he was well deserved of an X Factor, especially during that 1989 season. We have Mike Wilson, Jamie Williams, and Terry Greer. Oh yeah, and also the guy who holds virtually every statistical record for receivers and who was voted as the #1 player of all time by NFL Network. The 11-time first team All-Pro is undoubtedly the best Niners player to ever live. But that's still not all Montana has to work with. Now, he wasn't quite Dwight Clark, but Brent Jones was phenomenal for the Niners. And then you mix in an amazing offensive line led by the likes of Bubba Paris, Guy McIntyre, Jason Sapolo, Bruce Collie, and Harris Barton. You can see why this offense is a 97 overall. So even though the offense was far and away the best in the league, the defense was also top 3. At left end, they had Pierce Holt, who had 10.5 sacks on the season, and Larry Roberts. Right end, they had Kevin Fagan, who had 7 sacks on the season, along with Kevin Lilly and Roland Putzier. At nose tackle, they had Michael Carter, Jim Burt, Pete Kugler. Right outside linebacker, they had Keena Turner and Antonio Goss. Man, and down the middle, they had Mike Walter and Matt Millen, along with Keith DeLong. But the heart and soul of the front 7 was easily Charles Haley, one of the most versatile players of his era. He could rush the quarterback wherever you decide to line him up. He had 10.5 sacks that season. But they also had Bill Romanowski and Danny Stubbs as depth. Now, they did have a past his prime Eric Wright, who during his best years was considered as one of, if not the best cornerback in the league. But at this point, he was about 3rd or 4th on the depth chart, behind Don Griffin and Darryl Pollard. They also had Tim McKyer, Mike Richardson, Johnny Jackson. Strong safety, they had Chet Brooks and Tom Holmoy. Free safety, Jeff Fuller, who was backing up a guy that had a lot of people consider to be the best safety to ever lace him up. Ronnie Lott, who not only could play amazing coverage, get you interceptions, but a guy who was also one of the most feared hitters of all time. So of course we have him as a 99. He's going to be leading the way for the secondary. At kicker, they had Mike Kofer, who actually had an up and down time with the team, but that season, he was pretty good. And then punter, they had Barry Helton. So as you can see, there's pretty much no weakness on the entire team. But now we're going to see just how good they are in one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. Let's see how they stack up. They went 14-2, just like they did during the 1989 season. A lot of close wins on the schedule. First loss came against the Dolphins in week 5. Biggest win came against the Seahawks, 50-10. 10 in week 8, but Seattle would get the revenge in week 17. Joe Montana ends up first in passing yards, second in passing touchdowns. Roger Craig ends up top 10 in all major categories, and John Taylor leads the way in receiving yards and touchdowns. What a season for Joe Cool. Almost 5,000 yards, phenomenal touchdown interception ratio. Roger Craig over 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns. Sidney had 5, Rathman had 9, just like they did in real life. John Taylor and Jerry Rice both had 1,000 yards on the season. Rice added 9 touchdowns to go along with it. Brent Jones had a phenomenal season. Mike Wilson did his thing. Craig out of the backfield was making plays. Same with Rathman.
Lott
led the way in tackling. Daryl Pollard right behind him. 3 guys were in double digits for tackles for a loss. Michael Carter, the nose tackle, led the way in sacks with 10.5. Haley had 8. And there were 5 guys with more than 1 interception. So it's no surprise that the offense was first and the defense ended up second. However, Josh Allen still ended up winning MVP over Montana, but he still won OPOY. DPOY went to Demario Davis. And there were no Niners in the top 10. Roger Craig ended up top 5 for best running back, while both Jerry Rice and John Taylor ended up in the top 10 for best wide receiver. They had the entire Niners offensive line in there for best O-lineman, but only Kevin Fagan made it in the top 10 best D-lineman. But now it's time for the playoffs. And during that 1989 season, like we mentioned before, they absolutely dominated their opponents in all 3 games. In the divisional round, they won 41-13 against the Vikings. In a conference championship, they won 30-3 against the Rams. And then they had the most lopsided victory in Super Bowl history against the Broncos, 55-10. Let's see if they can do it again. So as you can see, this one's not even close, 48-13 with just under 6 minutes left in the game. The Niners are going to comfortably move on to the conference championship. So now we have the team with a Hall of Fame quarterback and a future Hall of Fame backup quarterback versus the only other team that comes to mind that can say they had the same thing at one point. Now in this one, we actually have a close game. 24-14, Niners have the ball across midfield with a 10-point lead. Honestly, all they have to do is chew clock, maybe end up with 3 points on this drive, and they should be good to go. Craig picking up a nice block, allowing Montana to throw a dart across the middle. I know you saw his stat line, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's pretty similar to the way he was playing during that amazing season. In the playoffs, this man had 11 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Didn't have 1 blemish in 3 games. 2nd and 13, chewing clock. That's the IQ from Joe Cool. He just gets rid of it. And that's another touchdown on the board. Let's see what Rodgers can do, though. It's not quite over. I'll never count out one of the best ever. But like I said, this team wasn't just all offense. Defense had a lot to do with their success. Rodgers hasn't even thrown a touchdown yet, and now he's going to get sacked. There's the first time out from Green Bay. Rodgers throwing an interception, and the Niners are headed to the Super Bowl. And now we have a repeat of the 2012 Super Bowl. The classic Niners versus the Ravens matchup. The Niners have the edge, 13-7 as we begin the 4th quarter. 3rd and 2, Lamar hands it off, but they don't get the first. So now it's up to Montana and company to just keep on getting first downs. 1st and 10, Montana throws a pick. He tried to get the ball to John Taylor. Instead is Marlon Humphrey, who gets them inside the 15. So unlike in real life, Montana actually makes a mistake in the playoffs, gives the Ravens amazing field position. There's not much going on the ground though. Only 50 yards rushing allowed by this amazing Niners defense. Remember, this Ravens team led by Lamar in real life is usually, if not the best rushing team in the league every single year. And right there, they make Lamar fumble. Who else but Ronnie Lott? And there's a flag on a play holding against the Ravens. They're going to decline. That's why he's known as one of the hardest hitters in NFL history. Even Lamar with trust. I know it wasn't activated, but still, he never fumbles in Madden. He fumbled that time going up against a lot. 1 first down or 2, and this team is Super Bowl champions. Roger Craig protecting that ball like his life depends on it. I'm kind of sad we didn't get to see any Jerry Rice catches, but at this point, you might as well just run the ball, even though Calais Campbell said it's not going to be that easy. Big 3rd and 5, we might finally get our wish. Will Montana decide to go to Rice? No, instead he goes to Craig, who doesn't get the first down. So now it's all up to the Niners defense. Can Ronnie Lott and company do it again? 1st and 10, I put him at sub linebacker so he can be in the box more. But it's Charles Haley who gets to the quarterback, pushing him back 8 yards. Lamar with the no huddle. He scrambles out the pocket, throws on a run, but there's less than a minute left. They have no timeouts and they need a touchdown. Haley almost getting there. Lamar throws it up. It's tipped. and intercepted. The 1989 San Francisco 49ers are one of the best teams in NFL history, and they'll be just as dominant in today's NFL. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. As usual, thank you so much for watching to the end. I greatly appreciate it. Please destroy the like button if you did enjoy this video. Let me know in the comments the next team you want to see in today's NFL. And until next time.